They had to call it. It was the right call.
Yeah, it's the only one
They
you're
had
gonna
to
get
call
called
it.
for.
It was
They
the
had to
right
call
call.
it. It's the right call.
It's the right call.
You have to tell yourself that a lot in the playoffs. Is that's as much as I hate it, you have to call it. Don't be stupid next time.
Welcome to another episode of Wrinkles in the Crease, where we take a look at the stories in hockey and iron out the details. I'm your host, Zachary Morgan. I have with me, as always, my co-host, less than real deal, Trevor Neal. Trevor, what is going on?
I'm ready to do some healing today.
Healing? Why do you need to heal?
And closure, honestly. The closure on the storybook that's been this season.
It is May 15th, Monday evening. The Vegas Golden Knights are playing the Dallas Stars.
Yeah.
The Seattle Kraken are playing the Dallas Stars in Game 7.
Yep.
To determine who the Vegas Golden Knights will play in the Western Conference Finals. Mm-hmm. The Eastern Conference Finals are determined, and they've been determined.
We're not there, unfortunately.
The Carolina Hurricanes and the Florida Panthers are playing there, and along the way, they soundly defeated each of the New Jersey Devils and Toronto Maple Leafs, respectively, in 5 games. The 5th game, of course, ending in overtime. Because
that
of course
overtime goal hurts.
Yep. It always does. So there will be an episode recorded in another couple days that will go over a lot of what's going on in the playoffs. For right now, though, I just want to focus on the playoff journeys of these two teams who both snapped over a decade-long drought without a playoff series victory.
Almost 2 decades for us.
Almost 2 decades for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Just over a decade in the case of the New Jersey Devils. In the New Jersey Devils case, they beat the Rangers, their most bitter rival, arguably.
It felt great.
Some may argue the Flyers, but who's going to argue that?
No,
really?
Not anymore.
And after, of course, dropping the first 2 games in embarrassing fashion at home, in a way that had me sitting in my seat thinking a lot about, what I've done that led every decision that I've made that led to this exact moment where the New Jersey Devils are now down 5-1 and have taken my family friend who is a Rangers fan. I've taken him with me, and he will now not shut up after Chris Kreider has scored his 2nd power play goal. But they did manage to win 4 of the next 5 games after a goalie switch.
Mm-hmm. Akira Schmid had his little coming out party. Gorgeous to watch.
Akira Schmid let everyone know. Meanwhile, in Toronto, after getting completely destroyed,
curb stomped, embarrassed
in Game 1 by a score of 7-2. A score that, quite frankly, made Devils fans feel a little bit better about what was going on.
7-3 in Game 1.
7-3 in Game 1. It made Devils fans feel better about the 5-1 loss that they were dealt. The first of the 5-1 losses in Game 1. This one being against the Rangers. And they managed to come back and deliver their own 7-goal game.
7-2, please.
And Trevor, I don't know really where to begin. So I'm just going to ask you, going into Game 2, because that's about the last time we really recorded.
Yeah.
Going into Game 2.
So into Game 2, there was we talked in the show about if Toronto was going to have a bounce back game. And you soundly said no, is that you cannot recover from how badly the Leafs played in Game 1. Like, that was a series statement game. And the Leafs came out in Game 2 and made a larger statement to be able to come back And the Toronto-Tampa series does not get enough credit for how freaking weird it was. And the fact that if the Leafs wanted to win a game, they needed a total miracle. And they just so happened to get a handful of them in that series.
They managed to overcome, quite frankly, their miracle in Series 1 was Matthew Nyes having a seamless transition to the NHL.
Oh, he's going to be a problem next year. We know he's
100%. Give him training camp, time to work with these guys. That's someone who
Matthews has a winger next year.
Matthews is a winger who's not going to worry about doing. He doesn't have to worry about doing something insanely dumb.
Matthew Nyes, I just feel safe with Matthew Nyes. It just feels like he's playing like very textbook, very, very by the book, do the right things kind of hockey with skill with it. He got his first goal against Florida. Kind of going a little ahead there. Matthew Nyes had a really, really good playoff, and Leafs fandom has kind of crashed a bit, and we've kind of forgotten just how positive some of the things we can take from next year are. We should be excited for Matthew Nyes.
It's a very different type of feeling than I think where some Devils fans are at. I'm gonna. It's a split at this point. The fan base is weird. But I'd like to say it's where, as opposed to where some Devils fans are, in the sense that, no one expected the Devils to be here. I came out here, and in our first episode, I said the New Jersey Devils were probably going to be the worst team in hockey. I said that with my full chest.
They really fell out of the gate badly.
You stumble out of the gate 0-2, and I can't begin to describe the atmosphere of that home opener, where it's not even like the Devils got cooked by a team that was good. They got cooked by Detroit. People were joking around that the Devils were kids that found themselves in the playoffs. The Detroit Red Wings are legitimately children. They're legitimate children. And
they're an AHL team. They're a good AHL team.
Alex Nedeljkovic looked competent. More than competent against the New Jersey Devils in the Devils home opener. And that was, of course, the famous game where, Lindy Ruff is booed in the announcements. And by the second period, the crowd is chanting "Fire Lindy." People around me are chanting "Fire Lindy." To go from that to setting the franchise record for wins in a season, tying the franchise record for consecutive wins along the way.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have their first playoff series win in 11 years for a team that wasn't supposed to be here. This is ahead of schedule.
And getting that series win of superstars is really just the groundwork is there for a super team.
And whereas this is kind of the Devils' first dip in the playoffs, and this is an amazing, successful season. The way they played in the second round may sour that a little bit, but this was an incredible success story. And then to compare that to what's going on in Toronto, because of all the failure in the first round over the last several years, it almost feels like, despite the fact that they managed to get over the biggest hump,
for any sports team in memory, has there been a team that struggled that way?
And that's just it. We're describing them getting out of the first round as the biggest hump, which is a recipe for failure,
for disaster.
The fact you have to, if the Leafs were knocked out in the conference final, I don't know if we're having the conversation we're about to have right now, wherein there needs to be some change made because it felt like it wasn't enough.
If the Leafs go 7 against Florida, if the Leafs go 6 against Florida, it's a different conversation. Even if they lost in 5 and they didn't go down 3-0 to start the series, I think the conversation is completely different. It's the fact you got out of the first round, and it's very clear that the team didn't anticipate getting out of the first round. It's like, all right, guys, we won those 4 games. Now the season's over, and it ended happy this time. And oh no, you have to play the buzzsaw of the Florida Panthers now.
Does that Is that a culture issue? Or
I'm
is it
starting to see that there might be, and I don't know if that culture issue is necessarily playoffs or the players, because I heard positive things from some of the way that the players reacted after the first round win. There's a lot of players in that locker room, leadership included, that didn't really celebrate as much as finally, let's keep going. Right? That was the mindset that Matthews had, and that gave me a lot of hope. But there's obviously something wrong mentally, and if that's Sheldon Keefe, if that's a whole organization-wide mentality, something needs to change. And I've been on board through the entire Leafs saga of they did the right things, they just choked. It's okay to bring them back. This time feels different because you came out and you just did nothing for 3 games of the playoffs. Matthews played inexcusably bad through the first 3 games. Marner played inexcusably bad. Something's got to change. Someone's not coming back.
And you look at who doesn't have a contract for the Leafs going into next year, and the big glaring name isn't even someone who's on the ice. Kyle Dubas does not have a contract right now.
Can I just say that even with the Leafs loss, Kyle Dubas earned that contract. I'm going to defend myself here. The best players through that Leafs playoff run: Luke Schenn, Jake McCabe, Noah Chari, Ryan O'Reilly, were the reason they got through that second round. Kyle Dubas did exactly what he needed to do. For me, he's back. Sheldon Keefe back? I don't think so. I think you just have to change for the sake of change to see if it changes it.
Which is insane, because it's not as if Sheldon Keefe hasn't seen success in the regular season.
Sheldon Keefe's a great coach.
But in the postseason, it's not just him. It's what have the Leafs done? And unfortunately, he's the coach that's been there. So if you're not going to shake up the core, I guess you have to shake up the coach. Because you're right. I do think Kyle Dubas comes back next year.
Because you've been on the more side of anti-Kyle Dubas since the beginning of the year for his lack of addressing major issues among the team, goaltending in particular. But for you to even say Kyle Dubas did a damn good job this season. He did fantastic. For me, like, one of the biggest things going into this offseason is you need to get Kyle Dubas back and you need to get Ryan O'Reilly back. And Noah Chari, because like those guys came into that locker room and showed winning DNA.
That's all you want to bring back? There's not another key piece who was only on a 1-year deal that you might want to entertain bringing back into the fold?
Who are you talking about? Who's on that 1-year deal?
I don't know. Ilya Samsonov? I'm looking over at Cap Friendly right now. I was thinking about whether or not
Samsonov is an RFA. Is he the most important person to bring back? I don't know if he is, but I think they should. But I also am kind of worried
close to the top of the list, I would think.
You think so? Do you think he's above Ryan O'Reilly?
No, he's not above Ryan O'Reilly, but I put him about on par with Noah Chari.
Yeah. Luckily, though, Samsonov and Wall can really run a 1A, 1B next year, and I think they'll be okay. Wall looked better against Florida than Samsonov did in the last 3 months.
Wall looked like the guy against Florida. Wall looked like the guy that, I've heard murmurs of. Yeah, I've heard murmurs of, this is the guy who's going to eventually inevitably take over.
Yeah.
But
gosh, should we break down the Devils' second round? Let's get back to them.
Yeah. Just to kind of go over the Devils' performance as a whole, the first round saw a lot of it was interesting seeing who was really producing. The Devils' best forward, production-wise, was Eric Haula, without a shadow of a doubt against the Rangers.
Did you see the stat about Eric Haula?
Yeah.
He's the first player ever to play for 3 different teams in 3 consecutive seasons and get eliminated by the same team in all of them. In one of those seasons, he played in Nashville because of the COVID year.
Yeah, that's the fun part.
It's just that's weird.
That's a first round matchup you will never see again, at least to the way the NHL is currently constructed.
I never will.
In terms of
that, for me, that's weirder than the Corey Perry losing in the finals for 3 different teams.
It's harder to do because it's one thing. I mean, not. It's very hard to get to the Stanley Cup Finals. I don't want to take that away.
Corey Perry's also only going to sign with teams that are going to make the Stanley Cup Final.
Not even that. The Stanley Cup Finals are always consistently the Stanley Cup Finals. The random just like probability numbers for in various rounds of the Eastern Conference for one player to on 3 different teams bump into the same team, just statistically, that is a marvel.
What happens if Erik Haula goes to the Carolina Hurricanes?
He will never go back to the Carolina Hurricanes. That has been, I did not know, but that is something that has been made abundantly clear to me.
He's a devil.
Not even that he's a devil. No. But he is. He went into that. I'll save that for later. But he did go into Tom Fitzgerald's office the other day and said, "I want to be in New Jersey. Let's make it happen. This is my home. I want to be here."
Yeah, right.
Erik Haula played about a season and a half in Carolina, and whatever happened rubbed both Erik Haula, the Carolina Hurricanes, and the Carolina Hurricanes fans. Everyone was rubbed the wrong way. No one feels good about the situation, and no one likes each other anymore. I don't know, because even though Carolina Hurricanes fans on Twitter will love to sit there and say, "Oh, it's obvious why, this guy's just such a scrub. It never worked out here. Terrible," like all this other stuff, like the writing's on the wall. The writing's not really on the wall, because no matter where I go, there's no concrete story that necessarily fully explains what happened during Erik Haula's tenure on the Carolina Hurricanes and why there is such animosity between Erik Haula, the fans, and possibly Rod Brind'Amour. What I've heard, what makes sense, is that Erik Haula started off his tenure with the Carolina Hurricanes on a very productive, hot pace. Somewhere along the lines, he fell off, and he fell out of, I'm guessing he was doing that, putting up those numbers in the top 6, top 9. At some point, he got bumped down to the 4th line. His production stalled. It was in a contract year that happened, and he got into some arguments with Rod Brind'Amour, maybe, and there are probably some teammates that he rubbed the wrong way with that. Additionally, this I've heard from more sources than what I've been able to kind of piece together. It seems like Erik Haula and his wife had suffered a miscarriage during his tenure in Carolina, which I'm also sure soured the whole thing.
You just need to get out of the area.
It was not a good tenure. Everything that could have gone wrong seems to have gone wrong, and no one feels good about it, and no one likes each other about it anymore. So the fact that Erik Haula has ran into the Carolina Hurricanes now three years in a row, and unfortunately has lost to them 3 years in a row, is interesting, but there's a whole lot of interesting in regards to that.
There's Erik Haula lore. There's so much behind.
There's so much Erik Haula lore, but
yeah,
Erik Haula was the best forward against the Rangers. Then it was Jack Hughes. Some people may reverse that, and quite frankly, I don't blame them. But you had guys like Timo Meier, who was playing sound good hockey, put 27 shots on goal, 0 points in the entire series, 0 points in the 7-game series. You had Jesper Bratt, Nico Hischier, and Timo Meier. They combined for 1 goal in the series against the Rangers, and that was an empty netter from Jesper Bratt towards the end of, I want to say it was, I don't remember if it was game 5. I don't remember if it was game 5 or game 7.
I think it was 7, because I watched it.
I think it was 7, but
yeah.
You need more production out of that. You want to see more of it. The other thing that's hard to forget, and just going back to Jesper Bratt, this was really his first playoff run. Yes, he made that. He was on that playoff team in 17-18 where
That
they
doesn't count. That was the Taylor Hall
not
and his
only does
band of
not
merry men.
not only does it not count. Jesper Bratt was a healthy scratch for 4 of those 5 games.
Oh shit! Yeah, he wasn't there.
That the John Hines experience, everyone, where your best players immediately become fourth liners. Shout out Philip Forsberg. Anyway,
Oh God.
yeah. But Schmid is your MVP because he comes in and he completely changes. He calmed the entire team down. He stepped in and he outplayed Shesterkin in key moments. It is what it is.
He's the reason you got to the second round.
100%.
The Devils probably should have lost the series.
I did not think he was ready. And
said it on recording.
I said it on recording. I don't know if I was necessarily proved right in the second round because the Carolina Hurricanes were, yes, it was a 1-point difference between the two teams in the regular season. The Carolina Hurricanes, they've been doing this a little bit longer. They know what it takes. This isn't their first rodeo in the playoffs. They were ready, and their forecheck was just this Devils team has never seen anything like that.
Well, and how long have the Hurricanes been trying to get out of the second round? And they finally they see this young Devils team and that's it. That's the one they beat.
The only time they got out of the second round that I can recall is in 2019, where they stumbled out of the second round just by chance. And then they got absolutely manhandled by Boston.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But
they got over their hump with New Jersey. They're finally they look real strong going against Florida.
It's not only that they looked real strong, it's that New Jersey just looked outmatched against them. They were not ready.
Happens. They're young.
They're young, but even I was a little bit surprised by how strong out of the gate Carolina came when they're missing right now 3 members of their top 6 that they came into the regular season thinking they would have right now. Teravainen, Pacioretty, and Svechnikov are not playing right now. Do you know who killed the New Jersey Devils in that 5-game series more than anyone else?
Hit me with it.
Jesperi Kotkaniemi. That guy.
Playoff guy, man.
That guy was a nuisance. In game 2, but through I don't remember what the stats were by the end of the game, but at one point during the game, he had put up 2 goals against the Devils, and in faceoffs, he was 7 of 10, 11 of 14, something to that effect. He himself was murdering the New Jersey Devils in game 2. And sure enough, in the game 5 OT winner, who is on the ice, I'm pretty sure he's got an assist on that OT winner. We can look it up right now. But Jesperi Kotkaniemi is on the ice. And I said to my friend, because also, I have a fun game 5 story. My Cablevision was out. I had no internet or fucking cable for the first and second period. So for the third period, I scooted over to my friend's house so I could watch it in the basement. I looked over at my friend as Kotkaniemi's on the ice during that power play. Watch out for him. 3 seconds later, the puck's in the back of the net.
Aren't you glad we both now have a very negative memory of Jesperi Kotkaniemi in the playoffs?
This isn't a negative memory. This is, oh my God. Oh my God. Is he worth that 3rd overall pick in 2018? No. Is that a guy I want on my team?
Oh, hell yeah, I do.
Oh, yeah.
He scores big goals and big moments.
Him and Jordan. This was Jordan Martinook series. Do not let my praise of Kotkaniemi overshadow. Martinook was the best forward on the ice throughout this entire series, and he made that known. I can't stress this enough. It did not matter. I do think the goaltending was more evenly matched than the paper will show.
Yeah.
But Vitek Vanacek, I will go on this. He had a great regular season. I think he was overworked, and it showed in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Schmid, at some point, growing pains are happen. My biggest issue with him going into this postseason and why I did not want to see him in between the pipes is he has 24 NHL games of regular season experience.
Yeah.
24 games. That's it.
nothing.
He's going to be
Especially
the
for a goalie.
goaltender of the future, but
The
overall,
future's not now.
Future's not now, and even then, the future's not now. That series loss against Carolina is not his fault. That series loss falls on everyone. But first and foremost, it falls on the forwards. The forwards have to produce more, and they have to show up. They just have to be better.
It falls on the fact that just Carolina's better.
That too.
Like at the end of the day, you can just say we ran into a team that was better than us. You can't. We would have liked to win, but it was a long shot to beat them.
Yeah. The only positive I can really say personally right now is that at least my my preseason Stanley Cup winner is still alive.
Yeah.
My preseason pick, but like at what cost? I would much rather be wrong about that. I would much rather have been so wrong about the New Jersey Devils to the point where they knocked out my preseason Stanley Cup Finals.
Would have felt good.
Shocker, the Carolina Hurricanes.
Yeah.
But even then, the Hurricanes look really damn good. Freddie Anderson. This is the right Freddie Anderson. This is Anaheim Freddie Anderson. That's who's showing up right now. The only shaky game he had was Game 3, and even then, it's not. Game 3 was kind of like the Devils breaking through, and the crowd got loud early, and they were just able to feed off that. I mean, ultimately, you're right. The Carolina Hurricanes were the better team. They came out, they showed it, and it just is what it is. The Devils have a lot that they can build off this year. It was still a very successful season. It sucks the way it ended. Jonas Siegenthaler took a delay of game penalty that led to the overtime or the power play in overtime that I believe it was Paul Stastny scored the game winner on the series winner on. And look, the right pieces are there. Nico Hischier. There isn't a player in the league I would rather have as captain of my team than Nico Hischier. This is a guy who absolutely cares and is willing to put it on the line. It sucks that he had the scoring drought to end the season because this was really a fantastic year for him, and it's just the thing that the thing that we have to focus on though is unfortunately it's 2 goals in I think like a 20-21 game span. You have to be better than that. But young team. There's a lot they can grow on. There are pieces that they need to deal with. Before we get into what the Devils need to do in the offseason, I'm going to throw back to you, though, so that we can talk about... So the only correct take I had in that first recording, or not even the first recording, going back to the recording that we did with Ryan... Oh, no, that was our last recording. I'm sorry. Excuse me.
No, the one with Brian. The one with Brian was after that.
Oh, the one with Brian was after that, yes. Going back to the one with Ryan Stern, I stand by the team I did not want the Devil to run into was the Florida Panthers. They are a higher seed disguised as the second wild card team right now.
And I've never seen a team that, like, if they pull 5 shots in a period, there's a solid chance 2 or 3 of them are going in. Like it's just it just feels like every player on that team is out to kill you, whether that be scoring, just getting in your face. Now, and I will tell you though, there are some players in the Florida Panthers that I will hate forever because of that series. Eric Stahl I just want to punch his face in a bar. Radko Gudas, Sam Bennett, Carter Verhaeghe is in my nightmares and will be forever.
My favorite piece of Carter Verhaeghe Twitter trivia, and I know you know where I'm going with this. There were 5 players traded.
Carter Verhaeghe
Michael
was traded to
Grabner by the Toronto Maple Leafs in what was that? 2015, 2016. Yeah. Oh my God, my leg is asleep.
Verhaeghe was traded purely because Toronto had too many contracts.
Yes,
he was not a real asset.
There were 5 players sent for for Michael Grabner, and that was the whole value of the trade for Toronto, was that they were shedding 5 contracts, and Carter Verhaeghe somehow finds his way in Florida, and he has been nothing but an outstanding hockey player for them.
Superstar. No, superstar probably is a bit far.
Superstar is reserved for Matthew Tkachuk and Sasha Barkov, excuse me.
Yeah. Carter Verhaeghe is a very nice complementary piece on that team, isn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Carter Verhaeghe is the kind of guy that wins you playoff games.
Carter Verhaeghe is the kind of guy you want in overtime in Game 7.
Yep. Carter Verhaeghe is the guy that the Leafs have needed for about 6 years.
Ooh, that wasn't even the shot I was going for. I just wanted to shade Boston.
No, but it was there. It was there.
Yeah,
anything to make fun of Boston. Yeah, Boston got eliminated. We didn't even get to talk about that. Like, Boston, we're witnessing probably the best playoffs in recent memory of just all the big dogs are out.
Yeah. I mean, all we really need to say about, am I right that the Florida Panthers are the team that you didn't want the Devils to play or to see in the playoffs? Are you sure? Yeah, they took out the best team in the history of the NHL regular season. Yeah, 100%. They
took out the number 1 and 2 teams in the East.
No, not yet. Oh, the Panthers.
Toronto was 2 or 3. Yeah,
Toronto was 4.
They took out 2 of the top 4 teams in the East.
And now they get to take on the number 2 team.
Who took out the 3?
Who took out the 3rd?
Yeah.
And we're not talking like just in the East. No. This is the league.
The best teams in the league. Yeah.
Because the best teams in the league were all in the East.
Yeah, because the East is better. It's so much better.
I'm looking around like Easter how conference. Weird, how strange for those who are listening in. It appears as though Dallas has made it a 2-0 game.
Wyatt Johnston, baby. That building's electric. I cannot wait for the conclusion of that game.
I'm very excited for the Carolina-Dallas Stanley Cup Finals. That's going to be a really good time.
I'm excited for the Pete DeBoer Revenge Tour. Against Vegas?
Ooh, yeah, no, that's the Pete DeBoer Revenge Tour.
Yeah, it's going to be nasty. But the
only thing that would have made it better is if he got Vegas and then Jersey. That just would have been hilarious.
Oh. So
what happened to the Devils during his tenure is not Pete DeBoer's fault. I digress. But
Pete DeBoer is an amazing coach. I will die on that hill. I want that to coach my team.
God bless.
Let's dial back since we didn't get to talk about it a lot. The Leafs' first round against Tampa. Tampa has been one of their kryptonites, one of the teams that had their number, eliminated us last year. Zach, I'm just going to ask the question blunt. Did the Leafs play good enough in the first round to gain respect? Let's say this question happens after Game 6. Did the Leafs do their job? Was it good enough?
You're putting on they made it to the second round. Of course it was good enough. The existential crisis, I mean, they beat Tampa. Let's not pretend that Tampa isn't Tampa. Tampa is a team that's coming off of 3 consecutive Stanley Cup Finals appearances.
Was it a red flag for you that 3 of the 4 wins came in overtime? And all relied on magic?
I'm inclined to say no, because that's just how postseason hockey is.
At the time, I was like, you're playing against Tampa, who knows exactly what to do to win. So if you want to win, you have to go to the very end with them. You're not going to blow them out.
I'm going to say this. In the same overtime games in the playoffs are fun because it's one bounce and that will decide the fate of this game. And a lot of times it can decide the fate of your team in the postseason. In Tampa's case against Toronto, it decided their fate in the postseason because that's 3 games right there.
Overtime goal was it just kind of trickled.
That's 3 games right there because to make it to overtime, you're putting yourself in position to win. So that's 3 times that Tampa was in position to win, and they could not seal the deal.
You can also look at it on the other frame, is that Toronto found ways to put themselves in situations in which a lucky bounce will win them a hockey game.
And Toronto found a way to get those, to make that happen against a team that has shown what they can do in the postseason. Granted, they're tired, they're beat up. That is something that you need to consider. But It's still Tampa.
So
It's
was
still a team
Toronto.
that knows what to
Toronto's
do.
banged up. Yeah. Not as much as Tampa, but Toronto's
No,
banged
Toronto
up.
hasn't played as much hockey as Tampa, is the point I was trying to make.
No. I wish Toronto's played as much hockey as Tampa. But
Like we're
yeah,
talking
hundreds of
over
games.
in just in the past 4 or 5 years, over 120
Did I
playoff
hear
games for Tampa.
Sergachev is at like 200 playoff games already?
Yeah, that
It's
exactly my
just like
point.
unfathomable numbers.
Exact.
Yeah.
These guys have played multiple seasons in the postseason just in the past few years.
Yeah.
So
And the Leafs first round it felt like magic. Because it just felt like every game it was that late game tying goal in the overtime winners and the 4-1 comeback is the one that felt special. The 4-1 was like the demons are gone. It had to be 4-1. It had to be you had to come back from that. And leading the charge in the 4-1 comeback, Austin Matthews. Like that, it's just like it felt right, in that first round. And a player who turned around the way that Leafs fans view him. He had 4 goals in 62 games in the regular season and was not good, and then continued to put up 4 goals in the playoffs. Morgan Rielly, every goal he scored was overtime winner, game tire, or gets them back into the game when they absolutely need a goal. A lot of Leafs fans calling for Morgan Rielly to be the captain next year is it's not going to happen, in my opinion. But I don't hate the idea of Morgan Rielly wearing a C for the Leafs.
why would Jonathan Tavares not be the captain next year?
It's just if there's changes, people have mentioned if Tavares leaves, it's Rielly's team. That's a weird situation in which that happens. It's not
The
going
only
to.
way Tavares leaves is if he forces his way out.
Yeah.
Like
Leafs
that.
fans are going through it right now. Leafs fans yeah. It's
Has
been a
anyone
rough.
suggested trading Mitch Marner for Artemi Panarin on the Leafs side of things?
No.
Then the Leafs fans are doing okay. Please continue.
Yeah. And it just felt like, and especially in game 6. Game 6 felt like, well, let's dial back to game 5 when the Leafs had an opportunity to win the series. And the Leafs lose, almost come back, just fall short. If your team is up 3-1 in a series, Zach, and they lose game 5, what should your mental reaction be? We'll get them in 6?
Yes.
As a Leafs fan, I go, oh shit, it's happening again.
That should be the response to any playoff loss for anything. After the Devils lost game 2 against the Rangers, my friend texted me, "So, where do we go from here?" And I'll put the text up. I responded in 3 words, 2 text messages. Game 6. Duh. Because what choice do you have? It's not like, where do you go from here when you're down in a playoff series? You lace them up and you show up for the next game. Put up or shut up. And ultimately, that's the attitude the Leafs should have had going into game 6. And it is what they had, the attitude they had going into game 6.
And like that, I don't know if you watched game 6 between Toronto and Tampa, but like the Austin Matthews goal to start, or in the second period, where it's this little like give and go with Brody, where he like transitions and points to a spot on the ice that he's about to go to and just rips a puck. Like that was an $11 million puck he shot. Easy. Like, and it felt like a moment that it was Austin Matthews saying, all right, this bullshit's over. Like, we're here. And then, like, the third period starts and Stamkos scores. And as a Leafs fan, when you have the 3-2 series lead at that point and Stamkos ties the game, my mind goes to, oh shit, we're going to 7. Immediately. Eventually, that was the Kerfoot game winner. Yeah, that was the Kerfoot one. Kerfoot was the second of the 3. That one. Or no, that was Tavares. I'm talking about game 6. The Tavares goal, I've seen a lot of goals that have like influenced how much of a fan of hockey I am. That Tavares goal is by far my favorite goal ever. Because it was just like the weight's off your back, the jokes are finally done. and Leafs fandom felt so right for a little bit, and then it feels like it's worse than it was before now. Because now it feels like our castle's kind of gone. What do we have now?
Now, do you think that feeling is a little bit different? Now, say the Leafs lose in, say the Leafs don't drop the first 3 games of round 2. Is there a different feeling?
Different.
Or
Yes.
is the fact that they got completely just immediately punched in the mouth by Florida, weren't even really in the games in games 1 and 2? Does that
even if they dropped the first 3 and looked competitive, I think we'd be fine. Because then you could tell yourselves and management can think we just ran into the Panthers, who are just this perfect storm of playoff hockey. And you can accept that. I think most Leafs fans would find a way to eventually accept that. The way I accepted the Tampa loss is you ran into the Lightning. I'd be able to say, oh, they just ran into the Panthers. They just outplayed us. It's just they shit the bed. They shit the bed worse than it looked like they were playing Game 7 every game, and just that there was no fight. And like we're talking playoff games in which the Leafs are one of the most front or top heavy teams in the league. Don't think you can deny that they're a top heavy, at least forward group.
yes.
When David Kampf is your best forward in a game, you're screwed.
Yeah, well said. I mean,
people are ripping Matthews apart, and Matthews did have a really bad game or two in that series, but he had 26 shots in those 5 games. Nothing changed. His scoring opportunities didn't change from the first round. We talked about how good he was in the first round, how bad he is in the second round. What changed except the puck wasn't going in anymore?
Really, that's about it. And now the conversation is, should the Toronto Maple Leafs seriously consider trading Austin Matthews?
Here's the thing with that. Is he is the Maple Leafs. He is and he's also said, my thing with Max is if he wants to be a Leaf, he's going to be a Leaf. As long as he wants to put on that sweater, the Leafs will and should do everything in their power to make that happen. You do not get a 60-goal scorer. You're not just going to get another one. You're not going to get anything that adds to that.
Have existed now for over 100 years. Throughout
like
that 100-year existence,
scoring. He's like 4th or 5th.
He is only their 2nd number 1 overall pick in that in that span.
It's embarrassing, the history of this franchise, and it feels like they have.
Don't know. Well, at least post World War II. Yes.
Yeah. No, anything before modern era, at least we can say safely.
Sure. Yeah. In the modern era, yeah, he is the 2nd number 1 overall pick for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Let's go with that. Thank you.
You can make the argument, and I'll say it on camera, and I'm going to get ripped apart for this in the future. So if you want to clip, it's this. You can make the argument the 2 best Leafs ever are currently Toronto Maple Leafs.
And
okay, do you hate saying Matthews is the best Leaf of all time? Right now.
Yes.
You hate that?
Yes.
The argument's there.
What is he? You can't. Okay.
Don't you dare say hardware, because no one has any of it.
That's exactly. No one has any success. He hasn't done more than Matt Sundin. How are you going to tell me he's better than Matt Sundin right now? That's my response.
Yeah. Then you probably would hate me saying Mitch Marner makes the argument for being a top 2 Leaf of all time.
I mean, it's expected at this point, but the fact of the matter is, there's going to be some level of change that is likely made in Toronto this offseason. The Kyle Dubas needs a new contract.
He'll get
Sheldon Keefe's future is up in the air.
Very much
Austin Matthews is on an expiring contract.
He's got 1 more year.
He's got 1 more year. The way things are, you have to, if you are Toronto in some capacity, even if it's to say absolutely not, no, you have to entertain the idea of trading Austin Matthews.
And you think Austin's the guy that moves? if anyone does.
Austin is the most movable guy next to Nylander because one,
Nylander you could trade anywhere. Like
Nylander you could trade anywhere at that price, at that cap hit. That's a
Yeah.
movable deal. I don't know. Maybe that's the guy you move, but Austin Matthews is the guy where there's flexibility because that deal is expiring. If you're getting rid of Austin Matthews, there's some level of breaking down to retool.
I see. I
And
don't know how you trade Matthews in a retool.
I don't
Because
know
like
how
the team just simply isn't good enough without him. I think
don't
you
know.
can build a good enough team if you trade Mitch. But I
think
don't know
the-
how you trade Mitch.
I think the only way you trade Austin Matthews is, and this is, like I said, you have to entertain the idea, even if it's to shoot it down. I think the only way that trade goes down is if there is a grade A can't miss superstar prospect coming back.
Or it's just like two guys or another superstar player around the same age. But who's trading that? Or like who even is that? Like you mentioned the Marner for Panarin thing. I think that's an awful deal. Like what's the equivalent of that for Matthews?
The name that jumps out to me, and it kind of fits just because this team is known to kind of take a look at long-term commitments and be like, yeah, about that. The
What?
Vegas Golden Knights.
Oh, you said it.
Yeah, that's the only thing that really stands out. And that's it. And if the Golden Knights win the cup, that's not even an option. That's not an option. Because there's no reason to get rid of the player I'm thinking of, who you and I know who it is.
You are not gonna say it. No.
Yeah. It's that, and like
He might be the only guy in the league I hear. He might be the only one you have that conversation. Yeah. He might be the only guy. That trade is considerable. And it'd have to be
there would have to be so many things coming back to Toronto to make that happen. In addition,
it has to be Eichel plus. Like
Eichel
Jack Eichel's a
player,
superstar.
plus first round pick plus mid prospect.
Give us Mark Stone, just like give us Pietrangelo, just throw everything in there if you want Matthews.
Honestly, Mark Stone might not be the worst thing in the world with the Toronto Maple Leafs.
See, the team that I think I can't believe I'm saying this. Team that I think would be a good fit for Matthews actually is Los Angeles. I don't know who comes back.
A lot of people are saying those West Coast teams. Ultimately,
he's a big market guy.
Wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't it be fun if Austin Matthews ended up back in Arizona? Is always going to be a conversation.
There's a part of me that wants it to happen, but
yeah, it can happen when he's like 40.
Yeah. What does Arizona trade back because they didn't get Bedard? So the options are pretty limited. We're gonna trade Clayton Keller. That's
Logan
cute.
Cooley.
That's still
it's still not enough, but I mean it's
not even close.
Yeah. So I don't know where that.
For me, we already have Logan Cooley. We have Matt Nyes. The difference is not that big. Okay.
I really don't. You're right. I mean, ultimately, entertain the idea, but what's the realistic return? And there's no way
I don't think there's a realistic return in which you don't suck.
There's no realistic return where you don't lose in terms of getting there's just no way to match that value. Austin Matthews is that kind of player.
There are very few exceptions, but generally, if you are the team losing the best player in the deal, you lost the trade. And the list of players better than Austin Matthews is very, very short. You're talking Connor McDavid, Leon, maybe, but to me, same kind of guy.
Playoff Rupe Hintz.
Playoff Rupe Hintz, apparently. Dallas has advanced, by the way. We have our Final Four.
Yes. Playoff Rupe Hintz is better than Austin Matthews.
Playoff Rupe Hintz might be better than Wayne Gretzky. Just let's put that out there.
I'm not arguing that point.
No. I don't know how you trade Matthews and come into next season. All right, guys, it's better now. And if if it's not better next year after the Matthews trade, why are you trading him unless he didn't want to be here? Because if he doesn't want to be a Leaf, you have to.
Then you have to.
Say, then you have an oh fuck moment, and you're just screwed. It's over. Everything's over.
But that's, to me, that's unfathomable. It doesn't, that you can't convince me that Austin Matthews is going to turn around and say, nah, I'm good. Like, I could see him maybe wanting to test free agency, but you can't sit there and tell me he's going to say, no, I'm not coming back.
Yeah. So today was their locker room clean out. And from what I've heard, Matthews is dead set in Maple Leaf. He is excited to put pen to paper. And the one thing that needs to happen first, though, is him and Dubas are buddies. Like, those two are like this, man. Like, you need to get one done to do the other. The Dubas extension needs to come first because I think that severely influences Matthews' number. Even though, can we just say that the Matthews number is, you thought Nathan McKinnon made a lot of money.
Matthews no, I thought Nathan McKinnon took a pay cut.
Oh, he did. But Matthews is going to make so much money.
I don't
like
care.
It's going to be. He deserves it.
No,
if he wants 16, this are you telling him no?
No. This is another situation where here's an NHL player who is going to make so much money, who can actually really turn things around and tip the scales. He's going to take 13.4 and be happy, and I'm sick of it. He should take 15, no less.
It might screw over the Leafs, but for the benefit of the National Hockey League, Matthews should want $15 million.
Yes.
At least.
Yes.
Because then everyone gets paid more. The cap goes up. You have to, because you can't have players making $15 million on $90-something million caps.
Connor McDavid taking $12.5 million when he did it set the NHL back years.
What is Connor McDavid worth on the open market? Theoretically, like if you think it hits 20. Do you think there's a team that's like, yeah?
Yes.
I think Arizona. If Arizona didn't have their internal cap, you think they're like, you want 25? Like,
you're if Arizona could have. If Arizona, well, that's not fair because if Arizona could pay with monopoly money, yeah, they'd offer him $30 million, but they don't.
And just like Arizona trots out a team of Connor McDavid's on all four lines. And he just, like, we just see how many, he does it for 1 year and just sees how many points he can put up if he plays the whole game. Gretzky's records are gone.
But realistically speaking, do you think the core four in Toronto stays together or gets blown up?
I'm going to break it down. Matthews is staying. Tavares is staying because his contract's a boat anchor. Even though, stop saying he's bad. I'm tired of people saying he's bad. He's overpaid, but he's not bad.
I haven't said he's bad since.
No, there's a lot of people who think Tavares sucks. Okay, and he's going to drop 90-something points this year, and people are still going to say he sucks. Nylander.
Such a weird market.
It's such a hard team to play for. Nylander, the thing with Nylander is that he's the best playoff performer out of all of them. And that dude loves being in Toronto because he doesn't give a shit. He just cares about hockey and he cares about nothing else. So he's like the perfect, I don't care what you say about me kind of guy, which is perfect for Toronto. Mitch is the one that, like, if the contracts were all movable, I think Mitch is the one that goes. Which is a shame because Mitch has the potential to be the highest scoring Leaf of all time, and I don't think it'll be close, points-wise. But yeah, if any of the four leave, it'll be Mitch. Ryan O'Reilly needs to come back. Noel Acciari needs to come back. Michael Bunting's gone. Shoot him to the moon. If I ever see Justin Hall playing for a team that wears blue ever again, I'm gonna need to go to more therapy.
Not even just the Leafs. Just if they wear.
No,
blue.
If he even goes to Tampa, it's gonna be like. Well, if he goes to Tampa,
that's too close. Like no.
Oh, he's also gonna win a Conn Smythe if he goes to Tampa. So
if he goes to Vancouver, is that enough? Like they wear blue.
They play in the Pacific, so I wouldn't see them. I see him wear blue once a year.
Now,
so like, it's okay.
Count? Like if he goes to the Sharks, is that okay?
San Jose is acceptable. San Jose is acceptable because he might be a first pairing guy in San Jose.
Oh my god! No, he won't. Is he right-handed or?
he's so bad. You can put him on either side. It's not going to be
He's
good.
not right. If he's right-handed, he's
It
not
just
going to be
doesn't
on the
matter.
first pairing in San Jose. There's
No,
no way.
yeah, he will. Yeah, he. No, what you're forgetting is Justin Hall is a nice guy. Okay, and he's gonna want to play. The good players are gonna want to play with the nice guy. I'm telling you, Zach. I'm telling you. Justin Hall has made a career out of being the nice guy. You're gonna pull up. He plays on the same size as Eric Carlson. I'm gonna laugh my ass off if he does.
He does. He is right-handed. There's no way he is getting minutes over Eric Carlson. Should he go to San Jose in this theoretical world?
The San Jose power play quarterback next year is going to be Justin Hall. Just so Eric Carlson can rest his hips on the bench.
My God.
And Justin Hall can suck up those minutes for him.
So I guess just before we go back to some Devils talk, what move do you make from here? What one move do you make?
Keith's gone. Keith.
Okay.
I saw a tweet today that was the Leafs need a coach that's a hard ass. You know where I'm going already. You know, I'm still gonna say it, but you know where this is going. The Leafs.
His name keeps coming up in job openings, and I find it
every
hilarious.
time it pisses me off.
No, if the Rangers want to entertain the idea of bringing in Mike Babcock, go right ahead, please.
But the Leafs need accountability. You know who does accountability better than anyone else? Mike Babcock.
Mike Babcock does accountability so well. He has players hold players accountable without realizing that they're holding other players accountable. That's not an inaccurate situation. That's not an inaccurate description of what happened with Mitch Marner. I'm sorry.
Mike Babcock reminds you of the worst boss you've ever had. I don't know what coach is best for the Leafs. I honestly
There's
it's
only
not
one
going to be
worse
like
choice than Mike Babcock,
and that is.
Let me make sure that he isn't in coaching right now. Bill Quenneville.
Oh God. Zach,
I like how I had to make sure of that.
Zach, should we apply to be the coach of the Maple Leafs? Do you think we could
No, God, no. Why would I do that to myself? I will age.
No, but I think we could do it. I think we could. I think we could coach the Leafs.
I will
so
age.
Much.
Yeah.
And they need a drill sergeant coach, I think. I think you need hard and the guy's not Babcock, but you need hard ass. I swear by the end of the offseason, there's gonna be a part of my mind that's like, ooh, accountability. But I can't do Mike Babcock Maple Leafs anymore, man. That was rough.
Which of the Ford brothers is still alive?
Oh my God.
That's who I would rather see be coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Can we let Steve Dangle coach the Leafs?
I would rather see the dead Ford brother be coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs before watching Mike Babcock coach.
I'd rather them not have a coach. I'd rather them just have a bench with just players and the one equipment manager who holds the sticks and the video goes viral every season. Yeah, I'd rather have the bench just be him doing his thing with the sticks and just players. They call a timeout and Mitch Marner pulls up Fortnite or something and they kind of zone out and then zone back in. That would be better than Mike Babcock.
I would rather Pierre McGuire.
Oh my God.
I would rather Pierre McGuire.
And Ron Hextall is going to be the coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs.
That's a great idea. Ron Hextall, you can get you can make a Tom Sestito your power play and penalty kill coordinator. He's good at that, right? Or was he?
Could we just let Spezza be the coach?
Actually, I've heard. I've heard worse ideas.
Shit, Zach, I might be onto something there.
I mean,
is there a single person at the Leafs? He's the special assistant to the GM. They're like buddy, him and Dubas. Is it next to each other?
All I'm gonna say is, he doesn't exactly have the pedigree that Brindamore had, but there's a model there that there's a blueprint to follow there. Rob Brindamore's a fantastic coach, and he kind of came out of nowhere as a former player. I mean, I'm sure he spent a little bit of time, in management figuring that out.
Yeah.
But, it's not crazy.
There's no one the Leafs like more than Jason Spezza. Hell, bring Patrick Marleau over. Just have him and Joe Thornton. Let's get all the grizzled vets who are Leafs for some reason.
I'm sorry, I just literally,
was awesome.
gagged at that thought. No,
Patrick Marleau coaching the Leafs.
Patrick Marleau and Joe Thornton together on the Toronto. No, I'm sorry, they were together in the same building. Very close by when the Sharks retired Marleau's number, and I thought that's appropriate. I like seeing them there. Well, then you said the thing over there, and my brain just kind of rejected it.
Turned off. Yeah.
It was just a hard no.
Phil Kessel should coach the Leafs. The minute he retires, he should coach the Leafs.
Okay.
Just I'm moving on to the
I'm moving on to the Devils now because you just said the one thing that just no.
Be funny.
So for the Devils, and one thing that I didn't talk about at all, there were a bunch of players who didn't show up. Jesper Bratt, Timo Meier, notably, are going to be a lot of ones that fans will point out. Mikey McLeod showed up in a big way.
God, the playoffs are so weird. It's random freaking guys.
It's not, though. It's, you know what? It's been a full season and a half of this. Mikey McLeod is no longer some random guy. Mikey McLeod is your ideal bottom six center that every team needs and wants to have. Mikey McLeod was the third best NHL player in faceoff percentage this year. Mikey McLeod is a net. Mikey McLeod is a piece that teams want to have because that is a magic eraser. That there's a face-off in my defensive zone. We need a win here right now.
You're Ross Colton type guy of just he's not a superstar, but damn, you don't want to have to play against him in a playoff series. Of just he's the guy that just like at the bottom of the lineups, he's making a difference every shift. Those are the guys who win you playoff games.
In Game 7 against the New York Rangers, Mikey McLeod somehow, for some reason, he doesn't even know why. He doesn't even know why, but he's on the ice in a 4-on-4 situation. And
he should not be on the ice. Let's establish that.
No, he should not. In a 4-on-4 situation, where in a roster that has Jesper Bratt, Jack Hughes, Timo Meier, Nico Hischier, Eric Holla, Dawson Mercer, all these forwards,
Akira Schmidt skating out.
Andre Palat picks the pocket of Chris Kreider and finds McLeod, who undresses Igor Shesterkin so bad that it is the slowest goal I've ever watched happen in the stands because it felt like it felt like we were cheering for all of an eternity before the puck actually crossed the line. Because once Shesterkin goes down and we see that McLeod's clearly got the puck away, where everyone's screaming. Mikey McLeod has that goal, and then there was a goal in Game 3 where he's got a breakaway shorthanded against Carolina. Mikey McLeod lit the Rock up twice this postseason, louder than I can recall in recent memory. And, there's a lot of question marks involving McLeod that we'll probably be addressing at some point. The fact is, if things play out, Mikey McLeod's a guy the Devils definitely will benefit from having on the roster. That's a big if. Yeah. There's a lot that needs to happen before Mikey McLeod is kind of viewed as a safe lock on the roster. But that's a guy there.
When the Devils make a long run here soon, Mikey McLeod is going to have some moments that get him solidified as a New Jersey Devil for life.
He's already had some of those moments. He's already had some of those moments that are going to solidify him in the memory of Devils fans. But if he continues, if he puts up another season like what he did this year and shows up again in the playoffs, that he'll become a fan favorite if he hasn't already.
I love players like that. That just like they're depth guys that just like they're on a good team and they have a few moments. You know who like did that perfectly? Nick
John Madden.
Bonino. Like
I feel
like
one of those guys I think did it better, but hey, I'm biased.
Yeah. No, but like Nick Bonino for the Penguins is going to be remembered fondly by Penguins fans forever. So much so that Ron Hextall traded for the corpse of Nick Bonino just so people would like him again.
Yeah, Ron Hextall's not in Pittsburgh anymore.
Yeah, for good reason. And
for good reason.
The Ross Coltons, the freaking who else is it for the oh my god, I'm Nick
Pat
Paul
Maroons,
on Tampa.
Blake
Maroon.
Coleman.
Oh my god. Fuck Blake Coleman, man.
Blake Coleman. I love again, another bias. I love Blake Coleman.
That
like hurt.
He's like, oh, just.
I'm not gonna lie to you, Trevor. More tears were shed when the Devils traded Blake Coleman than when the Devils traded Taylor Hall.
Oh my
that
God.
Is a factual statement.
We're not going to talk about the Penguins player that got traded that I shed tears for. It's embarrassing.
But going
James
back,
Neal.
Jesus Christ.
I love James Neal. Oh.
But now the Devils have something to build off of. There are a lot of questions that need to be answered for the Devils. The glaring issue, or probably the first thing on Tom Fitzgerald's desk, is there are the Timo Meier contracts and the Jesper Bratt contracts.
That's number one.
Number one. Jesper Bratt. I have a hard time seeing Jesper Bratt getting more than Nico Hischier this year, right now. But I think it's going to happen. What does Hischier make? Hischier's 7.25. I think it's very likely that Jesper Bratt makes around 7.5, somewhere in that.
That's window. Fair. With today's market, that's fair.
I think Timo Meier is going to ask for and probably get somewhere between $8.5 to $9 million. If it is not from the Devils, he will be a $9.5 million player. I don't know.
Oh my God.
I think it's likely that these deals can get done, but I'm not entirely sure, to be honest with you. I want to see both players back. A lot of fans are ready to jettison Jesper Bratt into the sun. To them, I will say Jesper Bratt was producing assists. Did he have goal-scoring issues? Yes. But the Dougie Hamilton doesn't get that separation for the overtime winner in Game 3 against the Rangers without that beautiful pass from Jesper Bratt.
Yeah.
So
he was contributing.
Is it the production that you wanted? No. Is it $8 million production? No. Is it reason to jettison him into the sun? No. So Bratt Meier, I think.
Austin Matthews.
No.
Okay.
No. I mean, look, if it's. Let me rephrase that. Really? That's what you. Sure. Yeah. By all means, we'll turn Austin.
And Jack Hughes.
Absolutely not. Get out of here. Get out of here.
I have a bit on Jack Hughes before we finish up this episode, by the way.
Oh, God.
It's going to be good.
Next year, that's actually something to talk about. We saw it took the Carolina series until we saw the debut of Luke Hughes in the playoffs. Luke Hughes is going to be a regular in the Devils lineup next year. Simon Nemec will be a regular in the Devils lineup next year. Alexander Holtz will likely be a regular in the Devils lineup next year. So you're adding 3 top-tier prospects to a lineup that's going to benefit from them. I think Severson, I think Graves, you let both of them walk at this point because you have to re-sign the greatest defenseman on this team in all of his length and glory in Kevin Ball. That man is beautiful, and he can reach across the ice in one fell swoop. I may sound like I'm being ridiculous, but Kevin Ball was actually we watched him evolve from someone who was borderline unplayable to the
To
ideal
depth
partner
guy.
to the ideal to one of the ideal defensive
Defense
partners
partner.
for Dougie Hamilton.
Like that quick.
Kevin Ball.
Hey,
He's the best
Kevin Ball.
Better than
Kevin
LaMelo.
Ball.
Better than Lonzo. And you better believe better than LiAngelo. He puts
Oh my
the
God.
ball and big baller brand. So with that being said, I don't think there's really need to go after much in terms of defense or even really forwards. If you can retain everyone, I think there are enough spots filled. Hall's deal is up. He has made it clear he wants to be around in New Jersey. I think that's a deal that you can get done. I'd like to see Tomas Tatar back. Granted, in my mind, Jonas Siegenthaler took that delay of game penalty because Tomas Tatar stopped skating.
Yeah.
That's why if Tatar can get a stick on that puck, Siegenthaler doesn't send it out. I'm just saying. Regardless, the only issue then that you really have to look at here is the big glaring issue. In games 1 and 2 against the Rangers, Vitek Vanacek did not look good. He did not have the movement. In every game Vitek Vanacek played this year in the playoffs, his movement was bad and concerningly bad.
It's real bad.
I don't know if Schmidt's ready to take over the reins next year. The Devils need to entertain the idea and call Winnipeg and see what is going on, what it would take to get Connor Hellebuyck in the Devils uniform. There's no way
Would you be willing? Let's say that like Bratt is the guy going to Winnipeg.
No.
Is Hellebuyck worth that much to you?
No, because at the end of the day, what Schmid's
you still have Schmid.
You still have Schmid, and the key thing here, Vanacek, I think it's a very strong argument. Vanacek was overworked, and that's why he didn't perform as well in the playoffs. That's not crazy.
Yeah.
But there were also moments where it's like we needed a big save. Vanacek allowed 2 shorthanded goals in a 25-second span in Game 3 against the Hurricanes, and the only reason it wasn't a huge topic of conversation is because the Devils won that game 8-4.
Yeah.
You need a save in those moments, and Vanacek just did not. Time and time again, you didn't get that. So
can I argue against Hellebuyck?
The argument against Hellebuyck is he's 30. That dude will turn 30 on Friday.
What is the chances that hurt Schmid's confidence of, hey, I proved that I'm a starter, and then you went and traded for Connor Hellebuyck? How does that, like, if you were Schmid, how do you feel about that? I don't know if that sits right with me. As much as I may not be ready, I don't know if that sits right with me.
More than anyone, I don't know if it sits right to me because Vitek has earned the right to be here next year. And if you're bringing in Hellebuyck, that means you're getting rid of Vitek because Schmid is 100% going to be a part of the goalie rotation next year.
Yeah, he
100%.
Yeah.
So maybe the answer is now that Schmid's up, Blackwood is probably Mackenzie Blackwood has played his last game in a New Jersey Devils uniform. That is very likely the case. Assuming that is the case, that means that you're going in and they don't add Hellebuyck. You're going in with Vanacek and Schmid as your 1A, 1B, some type of combination there. Likely Vanacek starting out as 1A, Schmid taking 1A from him probably by February, knowing how that could work out. That's a better situation just in the sense that Vanacek and Schmid are more available than Blackwood has been over the past 3 years.
Yeah.
Blackwood's lack of availability is ultimately what cost this team. Mackenzie Blackwood, before he went down in January, February, he was shaky. He was still shaky, but he was good enough.
He has a body that you can throw out there.
He's a body that you can throw out there.
From...
Granted, he gets hurt. We don't find out Vanacek's ready. I don't think the Devils win that series against the Rangers if Blackwood's the guy who comes in game 3 for instead of Schmidt.
It
So I
had
don't
to be
know.
Schmidt.
It had to be
It
Schmidt.
had to be Schmidt.
So
Because Schmidt, like, it's the whole I'm a rookie stepping into that. The adrenaline from that, the adrenaline that it gives to the team is the reason they won. It wasn't necessarily just Schmidt's play as good as he was.
and we'll see, because Schmidt is very, very good. That's not a fluke. Like, we saw this coming all this season. Did we see it last year? Absolutely not. He came to the NHL and got lit up last year. But this year he looked really good. And next year he deserves to be on the Devils roster to start. I came into this episode with a stronger line of give me Hellebuck or give me death. I have very much since calmed down, came into the episode, came out of the Carolina Hurricane series with that sort of mentality. I think you have to, in the same way that you have to entertain the idea of trading Auston Matthews if you're the Leafs, you have to entertain the idea of who's available. That's an improvement. Might not cost too much. You have to kick the tires and see what's going on there.
Yeah, Winnipeg's gonna have a fire sale anyway, so you might be able to get some discounts on.
Hey, you may be able to get Connor Hellebuck and Kyle Connor in one fell swoop.
You know who you get? Pierre-Luc Dubois. He hates Winnipeg more than anybody.
Didn't he want to go to Winnipeg?
Yes, and now he wants to be a Canadian. The whole Pierre-Luc Dubois thing is fascinating because he just wakes up one day and goes, I hate this team, and then he gets traded. And then he gets traded to a team, and he's like, man, I hate it here even more. And I want to get traded to that team, and he does not have the power to do that.
Remember when he got drafted 3rd overall in 2016, and that was viewed as a reach because Jesse Puljujarvi was like right there, and everyone thought he was going to be what? I don't even know. Like he was finished somewhere.
The second coming of Christ.
Jesse Puljujarvi, who, thank God, I did not notice too much again in the Hurricanes Devils series. He's a problem if you notice him, but he's never really that big of a problem if you don't notice him. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's a great way to describe him.
Can I
bring up my? Oh, go ahead.
When you're noticing him, that generally it's because he's doing good things. If you don't notice him, it's because
he's mediocre.
Yeah.
I'm gonna piss
you. You were saying,
off.
I'm sorry.
Is Jack Hughes a douchebag? Because, like, a lot of people seem to think he's an arrogant douchebag now. And I read the quote, and you know the quote I'm talking about. And I'm like, I see both sides to this. I see why people are interpreting this as Jack Hughes might be a little pretentious prick. Of just he still has this no one believes in me mentality as a 1st overall pick. Okay, bud. Calm down.
Okay. I understand where he's coming from. Now, he had a very, very underwhelming rookie season.
He was small, undersized.
He was
not
a child.
Ready.
He was a child.
Yeah, he was in high school.
Yeah, no, that was a high school student that was playing in NHL games.
A small high school student. Jack Hughes is very small. We must protect him.
Everyone expected him to kind of come out of the gate and be, red hot, and he wasn't that at all. It took him until last season to fully arrive. So, in that sense, a lot of people wrote him off as a bust, which is why I can't necessarily, in good faith, write Alexis Lafreniere off as a bust. Because
but we want to. We're like we have it in our Google Docs, but we're just not submitting it.
No. We have good reason to. Jack Hughes has at least the advantage of advanced stats, looking really good for him. Alexis Lafreniere has he had a decent rookie season, and he has not progressed in his game. If anything, we've seen severe regression in his game. The fact that in 27 playoff games, he has as many points as Jack Hughes does in 11 playoff games. I'm sorry, 12. I think Jack Hughes has more playoff games in 12 playoff games than Alexis does in 27. There is right to be concerned with how the Rangers have handled the development of their top tier prospects.
Who was the most recent actual bust, excluding Nolan Patrick. I don't like calling Nolan Patrick a bust.
The writing was on the wall with that one. The writing was on the wall with that one. He had
I've
4
never
back
felt so bad for
surgeries
him.
going into that draft. If he doesn't have those 4 back surgeries, Nico Hischier is not the pick. But
Yeah. Lafreniere's gonna get there, man. I'm telling you.
In the
It's
over the
still
last
early,
several
but-
drafts, right now, it's the only guy going back to what, like 2015, 2014.
Even if you go like the top 3 picks, yeah, even like Pierre-Luc Dubois, not a good third
Pierre-Luc Dubois
overall
worked
pick,
out.
but
Kotkaniemi is an argument, but that's just because. But Kotkaniemi was such a reach.
just only because he got moved. Yeah,
like it
he
just
got
no, not
moved.
even.
There was a-
It was just a reach. That guy, Kotkaniemi should have been taken like 8th or 9th overall, probably. He
Yeah.
went 3rd for
Was
reasons
it?
known only to
And then
Mark
they got
Bergevin.
Caulfield at like 12. Like
Not even
Caulfield
like
should have gone
20,
higher.
20 something.
Yeah, Caulfield's
But-
gonna be so scary.
The Aaron Ekblad, like that's the only one.
Yeah,
And
he
even
was a
then,
first overall pick, wasn't he?
he wasn't just a first overall pick. He was an exceptional player.
Oh, he got the status.
He got exceptional player status. He was, touted as the first overall pick for years and years to come. And
He's a
been
very
okay.
good defenseman.
He's
a good
solid,
defenseman.
but he's not exceptional.
We're saying this as he's the number 1 defenseman on the scariest team in the league right now.
Is he the number 1 defenseman?
He might not be.
I don't think he's their number 1 defenseman. I really don't, but he's very good. He's very good for them in the playoffs, at least. But
He may have fallen down their chart.
That's kind of the level of where we're at, though, with these top tier picks. Alexis Lafreniere is on pace to be the biggest bust we've seen since Nail Yakupov. Why did it take me so long to say that? Why did it take me so long?
Two different busts, though. There's a big drop off between those 2 busts, but if you have to order
you might
them,
get serviceable years out of Laugh.
Yeah, as a depth
You
guy.
might, but
yeah. So Aaron Ekblad is on their first pairing.
Okay.
With Gustav.
So, yeah, no,
Forsling.
I don't know what's wrong with me.
but at the same
my
time, he's
answer's
also
Nail
had
Yakupov. My answer's Nail Yakupov.
He's Aaron Ekblad is above Brandon Montour. They might kind of rotate because I remember more Montour than Ekblad.
I was going to say, I thought Montour was their number 1.
And even like Radko Gudas, like finishes off that right side. And I remember a whole lot of Radko Gudas. So they might just be splitting.
Radko Gudas, I really underestimated his game when he was in Philly because he was in Philly.
No, not game. He just pisses you off. That's his job. He's so good at it. He's not a good defenseman.
No, he's good. That's the thing. He's good. He's good enough to be in the top 4.
Do you know who's not? I know this is towards the end of the episode, but I just want to talk about Mark Stahl is very bad at hockey, and he's that defenseman now.
Oh, Mark Stahl
He's taken that.
Mark Stahl's been
He
bad
didn't
at
have a
hockey
job in
since
the
he was in
NHL
Rangers.
last year. Yeah,
He
but
was in Detroit.
did you see the elbow he had on Mitch?
Wasn't he in Detroit last year?
I thought he didn't have a job.
I mean, that's
But
basically
him against
not having a
Toronto,
job.
he got turnstile. But man, he's allowed to do whatever he wants.
Yeah, Detroit Red Wings.
My bad.
He played 71 games.
Oh God. He is like you know when Zdeno Chara got to that point in his career where they're like, hey, like you're not good, but we're gonna like bend the rules.
Mark
for
Stahl's
you
been
so
at that
you
point
can
of his
prolong
career
your-
since
he was a rookie.
No, not even since he was a rookie. Well, no, he was serviceable for a while, but he's been at that point of his career since probably like before the pandemic, right before the 1920 season.
He just keeps on clinging on.
Hey, we got your brother here. Want to come play for the Florida Panthers? Yeah, sure. Why not?
He just won't leave.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Ultimately, it's 2 teams that played a hell of a season. Both accomplished a great deal in terms of where they need to be, in terms of getting where they need to get to. The job is far from done for both of them. It definitely does seem as though the mood is a bit cheerier on the side of the Devils, just for the
Much.
sole purpose of that they are younger and not even all the prospects are up. The Leafs
Toronto's
have a
in
lot of
shambles.
questions. Yeah.
Do you have any idea what the Maple Leafs look like next year? Because I don't.
Oh God, no. No, I have no
I don't
idea.
think the Leafs know. Brendan Shanahan doesn't know.
If Shanahan does know, if Shanahan says he knows, he's lying. We're in agreement there.
Yeah, no, he has no idea. It completely depends on what Kyle Dubas says to his family in the next few days if he wants to come back or not. That's what it relies. Kyle Dubas said that if he needs to even consider if he wants to be a GM next season. He said that in his presser today.
Kyle Dubas is also going gray, and like
he did say he had a very human like
Kyle
locker room
Dubas
day.
is stressed.
Did you see his quotes?
No,
He
I didn't even
basically
see the
just said
Jack
this
Hughes quote.
season was really hard on his family, and he needs to have a conversation with his wife if he wants to return as a GM.
Well, yeah, it was hard on.
And like he said that if he is not back with Toronto, he's not working next year. He's taking time with his family.
I'm really
He's got 2 young
excited.
kids.
I'm really looking forward to the Toronto Maple Leafs rehiring Lou Lamoriello, so that Lou Lamoriello can come in and renegotiate with Austin Matthews, which went so well that Austin Matthews, the first time that Austin Matthews almost held out on a rookie deal, because Lou Lamoriello doesn't believe in bonus incentives for rookies. They gave him the keys to the Islanders, and no one has thought to maybe think about taking those away from him.
Lou Lamoriello would give Justin Hall so much money.
No, he wouldn't.
Yeah,
no, he wouldn't. Justin Hall?
Lou Lamoriello loves slow, bad defensemen.
Yeah, that's like
Nikita
a $3.8 million
Zaitsev.
contract. It's not that much money. You can work around that.
Is Lou Lamoriello going to give Mark Stahl like $4 million?
No. No, he's going to give Alex Romanov $6 million.
Oh God.
I love that series of trades. I love how that worked. I hate that it worked for Chicago. Chicago literally took one look at Kirby Dach and sent him away and said, You will help us get Connor Bedard. And he did.
Lou was so vital to getting the Leafs to where they are now as a legitimate contender. It is a very good. I'm not going to call them a contender. I'm going to call them a very good hockey team. He was instrumental in creating that. But I don't want Lou Lamoriello to be legally allowed inside of Ontario. Because I just don't want babyface Matthews again.
Do you ever think about where the Toronto Maple Leafs would be if Austin Matthews didn't moon that parking attendant and the Leafs went through and named him captain?
Is that where it went wrong? Was it that cold? I should write that as a poem. It was a cold, dark night in Phoenix, Arizona. Austin Matthews,
which is a lie. Well, actually, it's a desert, so it might get cold at night. But
it does get cold out here. It gets cold.
Okay. Fair.
And he had one too many Michelob Ultras. Austin gives a Michelob Ultra kind of vibe.
He does. He does.
He does.
He really does.
He does. I'm underage. I don't know what I'm talking about. I didn't say that. Zach said that. And he saw a cop, and he looked at his buddy. I don't know who the buddy is, and he just went, "I have an idea."
Parking attendant.
It was a parking attendant, not a cop.
I'm pretty sure it was a parking attendant. That could be wrong.
Whatever it was, and he just turned around.
Uber driver.
Yeah. Oh my God. That's where it all went wrong.
Well, I mean, they were going to name him captain before that happened. He was going to be the guy.
I've heard both sides from people close to the team. I don't think they know. I don't think the decision was made yet. I think they're on the fence. And that just
that made the decision, that's for sure.
It made the decision, yeah, but the decision, it was not a guarantee. And I think that came from Chris Johnston, who I trust with all Leafs close stuff.
He doesn't think it was like set in stone. It was going to be Matthews. Tavares wasn't a bad choice either.
Yeah, but it'll be interesting to see what each team does after some second round disappointment. But it's to be seen. Congratulations to the Dallas Stars. Stars Knights will be the Western Conference Finals matchup.
Pete DeBoer is going to just go punch whoever coaches Vegas in the face. Bruce Cassidy, just punch him in the face.
Can I just say that I'm really happy that we're not dealing with another expansion team threatening to be in the Stanley Cup. If it were Vegas, Seattle in the Western Conference Finals,
the expansion bowl would be a little fun though.
It would leave a bad taste. It would leave a bad taste in my mouth.
It would make the Western Conference look really bad.
Yeah, it would leave a bad taste.
Worse than they already do. Yeah. We already have to deal with that as the Winter Classic next year, so let's just keep on.
Oh, that's the Winter Classic next year, Seattle and the
at wherever the Mariners play. Yeah. I don't know.
I know what you're talking about. I know
it's Gary. It's Gary.
It's okay.
Gary's just being a little silly, little goofy. Goofy Gary is what we're gonna call him. Goofy Gary.
My favorite Gary being silly is he finally looked over and saw the big metal disc that Wellington Mara once threw from his New York City penthouse apartment, and it landed in the Meadowlands. He's now looking at that and saying, "Hey, maybe we can have hockey here." So, MetLife Stadium still potentially a rumor for a Stadium Series game next year. How funny would it be if they did MetLife Stadium for the Islanders and Rangers? How funny would that be?
And the Rangers would have to be away.
Context: MetLife Stadium, where the New York Giants and New York Jets play, it is in East Rutherford, New Jersey, which is on the same plot of land that in East Rutherford that the Devils used to play at Continental Airlines Arena.
Really? That's the same plot. I did not know that.
The Devils played at the Meadowlands before they moved to the Prudential Center. So I just want you to the
irony behind the two New York teams playing
the
on
MetLife Stadium will host an NHL game next year, and it will be Islanders hosting the New York Rangers, and it's going to upset everyone because the Islanders, the team from Long Island, will be calling a home game in New Jersey.
When there are two NHL teams that call home closer to that stadium than they do.
Yes.
I believe that's how the geography works, right? The Islanders are further away from the Meadowlands than the
Rangers,
Devils are.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, that too.
And the Devils, yeah, both of them are further.
Yes, I figured the Devils might be a given, but yeah, no, just yeah.
Yeah. New York's weird. The geography of it's weird. I had to know. I had to be sure. It's just two states kind of snuggling together.
I'd like to announce the election platform I'm running on. If I'm ever running for office in New Jersey,
Not New York. Disgusting.
Well, or New York. Either way. The zipper merge, first and foremost, the zipper merge is now mandatory. And if you don't obey, that is punishable by death. It is a 3-strike system. So, 3 strikes and you're out. I don't know how that is enforced. I'm working on that. Don't worry about it. The second thing is there will be multiple bridges and tunnels constructed because the traffic is so bad and it will make everyone happier. So what does that mean? Multiple bridges from New Jersey, preferably Bergen County, straight to New York City. How does that work? I don't know. I don't care. This is
teleporting.
This is a not real political campaign. Vote for me.
Also,
I have another.
New York is no longer allowed.
I'm sorry?
New York is now illegal. Just don't be from New York.
No. Let's
put a cap on rent.
Oh, no. I'm forgetting the third thing, the third most important thing.
Oh, the third
this thing. This is in New Jersey. We are cutting we're drawing a line from Trenton across the state and cutting the state in half, and we're giving the south part to Philadelphia.
Oh God, yeah, they can have that. Yeah,
Anything
my
south of
girlfriend's
the
from
Driscoll
Philly,
Bridge
and
is
I hold it
blasphemous.
against her.
Anything
It's not
south
real
of
New Jersey.
it's
Good to
just
know.
blasphemous. It exists, but it's blasphemous.
I can't wait to like call you and be like, "Hey Zach, I'm in New Jersey," and you're gonna be like, "Oh, where are you at?" I'm gonna be like, "Oh, about a half hour from Philly," and you're gonna walk down there to beat my ass.
I can't wait until like a half hour after I drop this episode happens and we have all of South Jersey just ready to kill me, and then I have to
Are they violent? Is that the Jersey Shore part of Jersey? Oh no, the Atlantic City part of Jersey. Oh God, not those people. They're barely allowed to
So,
vote in
with
federal
that
elections.
in mind, before we just continue to ramble on, thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of Wrinkles in the Crease. We will come back at you next time with more general playoff stuff. Thank you for listening to this therapy session for Trevor and I. We will see you next time. Take it easy. And
I feel
who do you
better.
think is going to win the Eastern Conference and Western Conference finals? Let us know.
Dallas
Take
and
care.
Florida.